Hi, and welcome everybody. My name is Cynthia Bland, and I am the founder and CEO of VoiceFound. And joining me today is Julie McKercher, who is the project lead for ethical peer support. There really is a lot to this training, and so we've put together this short video to provide you with an overview and answer some questions that have been coming our way. We've been getting some common questions. This was really designed with stretched thin organizations and busy people in mind. And I can honestly say that I wish this training had been available years ago when we were looking for a solution. I'll just get to the next slide here, which should be easier than it is because I have my desktop set up the wrong way. All right, here we go. I've got it together. Okay, so why ethical peer support training? We knew the title of our training could possibly raise a few eyebrows, and that's okay. We want people to question peer support. We want people to look at how training is or isn't delivered. Ethical peer support really is a comprehensive program designed specifically for organizations who are using or who want to use peer support as part of service delivery. As you can see by the definitions here on the slide, ethical means conforming to accepted standards of conduct. As you know, the people that you deliver services to are vulnerable, and they're placing their trust in the people in your organization. And also, though, as an organization, we know you want to provide really the best care for your team and also the folks that you're serving. Standards of conduct, when implemented and followed, ensure that peer support is being delivered in a way that optimizes benefits to both the person receiving services and the person providing services. And we found that these standards are often lacking, and yet they are really necessary to ensure the best of care. We know it's not a lack of concern or care by organizations, but often it's really a lack of time or knowledge. How do you even get started with this? So these standards and the way that we work at VoiceFound are a constant, and they're woven through all phases of this training, from the organizational implementation guide all the way through to and including our community of practice. To summarize, ethical peer support is the provision of emotional and practical support between two people who share a common experience while adhering to accepted standards of conduct. So why is this training needed? Well, for over 10 years, we've been providing lived experience support to people who've experienced sexual exploitation. Lived experience service delivery really is in our DNA. It's the genesis of our organization. And through the years, we've really learned a lot through our successes and also through our failures. And I think failures are really where you learn the best. Failures are the best teachers. Our team, including our board of directors, is comprised of people with lived experience of sexual exploitation. And we're often called to consult with organizations and share our best practices. And we're really honored to be seen as leaders. I think we'll all agree that peer support plays a really important role in recovery. And many well-meaning organizations hire people with lived experience, throw them into the role of peer mentor with little to no training or supervision. Not all people with lived experience are good peer supporters, nor do they need to be. There are many roles that somebody with lived experience can play and fill in your organization. Sometimes a person's just not ready at that moment to be a peer supporter, but perhaps they could be at a future date. We've seen peer supporters harmed when thrown into the role with no oversight, no training. They're lacking the tools to set and maintain boundaries, and they don't understand the role between themselves and their peer. We also know that somebody with no training can unintentionally harm the person that they're supporting. Unfortunately, there are people with lived experience being hired for the, we'll say it, the lived experience check mark on a funding application. They're then tokenized. They're not treated as equals. Their input really isn't welcomed. And we know some of this is due to the fact that not all organizations have the tools or experience to provide lived experience staff with an environment that allows them to really contribute and to be seen as leaders. I think one of the really exciting features and aspects of this training is the support for organizations, many of whom have not had formalized peer support programs. It provides a really great foundation, not just for peer support, but has great information that can be used for any of your lived experience roles. So I'm just going to reiterate one more time that lived experience does not just equal peer supporter. So we didn't do this alone, and nor did this training happen overnight. It's something that's been really percolating for a number of years. And we're grateful to have been provided with some funding that allowed us to accomplish this massive undertaking. We conducted many, many interviews with various stakeholders along the way. We had a lot of consultations with lived experience professionals, some who are currently delivering peer support and some who aren't delivering peer support. We met with other executive directors. We met with psychologists, therapists, and people who are learning experts. This allowed us to get their unique perspectives and experiences. In the spring, we did run a beta test on our preliminary course. And based on a lot of feedback, we did take time to adjust and build out the material. The beta took place over a number of weeks with participants doing both synchronous and asynchronous learning. This allowed us to gauge the level of effort required for people who already have full-time jobs. The project is grounded in research, and some was conducted on our behalf in part by Ottawa Centre for Resilience. We also included the original framework for peer support developed by the Mental Health Commission of Canada and the peer support matrix from Peer Support Canada. All of this combined with our own experience of delivering peer support and the identification of gaps and requirements for people who've experienced sexual exploitation. It really does take a village to get this work done. At this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Julie. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you, Cynthia. So just to backpack on everything that Cynthia has said, it was really important to us that ethical peer support be grounded in a solid emerging evidence base in terms of content structure and design of the program. So I'll be covering that over the next couple of slides. So what exactly does the research say? Peer support is a relatively new practice, particularly in the area of sexual exploitation, but we've been doing it for years at Voice Found, which is how we know that training and implementation support are critical to the success of any structured program. And I think we can all agree that comprehensive training takes time, but I'm sure that that as peer supporters acquire knowledge and build their capacity to assess risk and maintain boundaries, along with other key competencies, we'll see enhanced programs popping up. As an organization, this is what you want in a peer support workforce. We have made sure to include, thanks Cynthia, the values, philosophies, and standards that underpin peer support services in the best way possible across the country. So we'd really invite anybody who's interested in exactly what we used for research, and you can find it at the bottom of that slide on our website. Take the next slide, thank you. So deeper dive here on what the training offers our learners. We worked alongside subject matter experts and learning specialists to ensure that every module, of which there are 9, to adhere to key adult learning principles, making it deeply experiential. So tell me what I need to know. Now show me how to do it. Let me try it myself. This is where those catalytic moments of learning happen. We know that. Combining what we know at Voice Found about survivor leadership, peer support, trauma-informed approaches to recovery, and creating safe environments for peers and supporters, we drew on the very best practices for learning using this framework of tell, show, apply, and test, because good learning outcomes emphasize the application and integration of knowledge. Instead of focusing on the absorption of content alone, our learning outcomes for ethical peer support include the application, both in the context of the class and more broadly. On the other end of the learning environment, which is synchronous and asynchronous, as Cynthia said, we're also building a community of practice so that we can provide a lot of support for our learners in sort of a continuing learning environment, because another gap that we have seen is that there's not a lot of support for peer supporters once they're actually out in the world. This is slide 7. Yes. We made heavy use of this particular study in our research, combined with the issues and content we knew based on our experience at Voice Found had to be included, which will be revealed at high level in a moment. But this provides our learners with the opportunity to integrate and absorb content, apply, and be tested, but gently. So we covered why lived experience is an asset and not just a tokenistic asset. We've covered ethics, and ethics are really, really important in peer support. And we're not talking about standardization of peer support. What we're talking about is providing the tools in a toolbox for peer supporters to draw on that really underscores the importance of confidentiality, boundaries, and a whole host of other competencies. We have prioritized the importance of peer supporters' well-being and self-care because you cannot give from an empty well. We know that. And we've also kind of looked at what the peer supporter's role could be. And that is expanded on quite a bit in the organizational guide. It's not one thing, it could be 5 things. It could be something completely different than what you're imagining right now. So it's a really neat investigation. And then communication skills, active listening, active communication. These are important things. And on the next slide, we will dive into the 9 modules. So I said 10 because we have 10 sessions that are synchronous and in person. We have 9 modules. Each of these modules includes content, quizzes to test knowledge, personal journal reflections, an assignment for the synchronous session, meaning that there will be case studies discussed at length in the synchronous sessions with the mentor and the team, and evaluation, because we are committed to ongoing quality improvement. Each of the sessions are released weekly, allowing learners an entire week to work through the material, taking time to reflect on their progress and the impact that the content is having on them personally. Synchronous sessions, in-person sessions, are in essence a flipped classroom. Learned that term recently, where the cohort has the opportunity to dive deeper, reflect collectively, and work through challenges as a group. So you'll see here that we've really prioritized personal wellness strategies because you cannot give from empty well. I realize that is a bit of a recurring theme, but really about recognizing what readiness for ongoing peer support looks and feels like. And valuation of personal level of readiness for ongoing peer support work. To help people detect signs of struggling in themselves, because this is a heavy topic. List strategies in order to reestablish personal wellness and to develop self-care plans. Then we kind of go a little bit deeper into the self-awareness, the concept of recovery and recovery-oriented approaches, meaning that people come with a willingness and a readiness to join on their own recovery journey. Understanding trauma, communication, ethical conduct, support and self-determination, mental health conditions, because that's good knowledge to have as a peer supporter in your back pocket, identifying and managing crisis and trauma in the larger context. So the design of the program took into consideration a number of things. There is an application process, and the reason we did that was because a critical part of that is a readiness assessment, and it's a readiness assessment on 2 levels. One is for the peer or the would-be peer supporter themselves, which is not a test. It is a readiness assessment that allows the peer supporter to really investigate for themselves whether or not they're ready to take on a training of this nature. We also have a readiness assessment for organizations that are looking at enhancing or improving or starting up a peer support program in their organization. We have asked as organizations that you commit to supporting your staff through this process. We've designed a very comprehensive guide to support implementation of peer support in your organization. All that is required of leadership is a signed declaration of support, and that can be found on the application form for the individual peer supporters. So that is December 10th. We're looking for applications to be in, although please note that if you are running behind, we are absolutely happy to have a conversation and extend that deadline. Next phase is an interview. So that interview will happen for the would-be peer supporters with our peer mentor, Lucy. And she will be working with peer mentors to ensure their readiness for the role. And once they're approved, they're in. If they are not approved, Lucy will be working with the organizations and the would-be peer supporters just to give some feedback on how to be ready for the next cohort. It's never a no. Applicants are, the decision was made to design a program that is both synchronous and asynchronous. So access to the learning management system is done through our website on Monday afternoons, and our virtual classroom will be held likewise through the learning management system. So January 2nd is the day 1 for cohort number 1 to receive module number 1. We will be providing ongoing and robust learning and support while taking the training and afterwards. We also see that this program is going to take about 10 weeks. Following that, we've got a practicum. So the practicum piece is critical to ensure that peer supporters are ready to be launched in the world of actually supporting a peer supporter. And we have 2 ways of looking at this. One, either an organization is prepared to support their peer supporter through practicum in-house. If not, we can arrange for Lucy to work as the practicum supervisor. So again, that just gives that opportunity for learners to really dig in, to get debriefed, to get feedback, to learn how to do their work, to prepare them to do their work in the world. And that is all. So we are looking at, after this date, creating that community of practice that I mentioned. So that is coming. We will have more information about that. So I mentioned the implementation guide. Now this is an innovation that I think we didn't know we had in our back pocket, but as we were developing the program, it made so much sense to support organizations knowing that a lack of infrastructure is maybe why peer support might fail in an organization. So we're very happy to be combining a guidebook, but also a lot of support and ongoing development and implementation with organizations. So your commitment, like I said, we are basically looking for leadership to approve, support their staff. We are hoping that you will share back your information and provide stories of success, because I would say very much for us at Voice Found, this is a learning as well. And we are keen to hear back about how it lands and how it feels and where your stories of success are, because it does help us with our ongoing improvement and next steps. So essentially, you can see on the side there that we've got a very significant guide. It's a lot of information. And I think that the most critical part of this is that you will be supported through each element of that. And it may not work for everybody, but it's a really neat guide. And I will make quick mention of the HR and policy alignment. So there's really some interesting reading in there to help organizations figure out, how do we really do peer support well, with a commitment to both our staff, our peer supporters with lived experience, and to our clients. So we're excited about it and very thrilled to take people through this process. I think that's it for me. Thank you. Back to you, Cynthia.
Thank you. I jumped ahead. So yes, as you can tell, we are very excited about this and very, very proud of what we've produced. And we just know it's going to be really useful for everybody. So what are the next steps? Applications are due. So get onto our website, voicefound.ca. You will see even at the top, I think there's a bar. There's lots of buttons that'll take you to the page where you'll find the application forms and more information. As Julie said, we are willing to stretch the deadline a little bit, but of course we do need to do interviews with people. So I wouldn't take a whole lot of time making that decision. Review the information. We have a Q&A on our website. Share this information. It may not be applicable to you. It may be something that you're just not ready to take on right now, but we really would be very grateful if you would share this with others in your networks that you think might benefit. We are fortunate that we're in a virtual world where we can deliver this across Canada. EPS at voicefound.ca. That is the email to arrange for a call or any questions that you have. And I would encourage you to really think about making this part of your training budget. And I know it's really challenging. Budgets are a challenge for those of you who have March 31st as your fiscal year end. If you have, the funds to do it, it's very, very affordable. But I think taking the space, taking the time and making the investment pays off in spades. So thank you so much for joining us. Really, it's been a pleasure to talk to you all, and we'll look forward to seeing you and sharing results as we move forward. Thank you.